I find what's crazy reported out of these two teams that are playing tonight is that one of the teams wanted Parsons.
Right, Philly.
Does Philly actually think, as crazy as Jerry is, that he would have pulled the trigger on that? Or maybe Jerry would have. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it turns out that I guess Jerry didn't because of the rivalry and because of tonight. That's a big part of it. You're going into Philly. The Eagles are putting a Super Bowl banner up. If you traded Micah Parsons to the Eagles and that lunatic was running out of the tunnel to chase Dak tonight, I don't know how Jerry could ever fly back to Dallas. But it is, I would guess, standard practice for most teams that they don't like trading with rivals, especially like really prominent players in trades. Because it was Schefter. Schefter reported today that the Eagles were calling on him and wanted to find a way to acquire him, and Jones basically said, no, we're not trading him inside the division.
I would have to verify this. Battle of Alberta in hockey, Edmonton and Calgary. I believe they'd never traded players until like Steve Stais. I think when I was in Calgary in like, whatever it was, 08 or 09, we got Steve Stais from Edmonton.
Right.
Which I believe was one of the first times I think that they ever traded.
Didn't they trade Neil and Lucic?
But that was after. That
was like long,
since.
and it was both of them were like reclamation
I
projects.
think it was at that time, though, the first time those organizations had ever dealt with each other.
Wow.
Can't be.
JP saying
like
yes, 2010.
Somebody has to check that out because I'm trying to verify that because I remember being on the coaching staff. And I think it was like, hey, we got Steve Stais. I was like, we'd never gotten anybody.
Yeah.
Calgary had never traded with Edmonton before.
Well, it is the entertainment business, and you do have to consider how your fans are going to react.
Yeah.
Like, it is a great question in sports. Like, are you cool with the deal if it's in the best interest of your team?
Enough going to Ottawa.
I was just thinking that. Where it benefited both sides.
It did.
Dion was on that Ottawa team that went to a conference final.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, they were a good team, and the Leafs needed to move on from that era.
And the contracts, all of that.
Exactly. And Ottawa was one of the few teams that could take on his contract.
And they took on all of it, didn't they?
Yes.
Well, yes,
they did.
That was when Jared Cowan with the hip tightness came.
Right. That was Babcock's first year.
There was like some.
But then after that, Ottawa picked up Zaitsev, too. Remember when they needed to unload that, and Connor Brown went with them?
Yeah, like I do believe it happens. It's just I was around, I believe, that first time something happened to a rivalry team which you really had never dealt with.
Right.
And I think, like I say, in the NFL or other sports, I'm sure there's stories like that. It's like we just don't deal with them.
Yeah, well, and here's an example of it.
Right.
Right. And I think lesser profile players, you'd probably be more open to doing it.
Exactly.
Parsons in Philly, when they just won a Super Bowl.
That would be outrageous.
I can understand why that's a tough one to chew on if you're Jerry Jones. But what if they offered you the best package?
That's it, man. That's why I wouldn't care. In the division, Super Bowl, first game of the season, you give me a better package, I'm doing it. I really don't care.
Yeah.
Like you chew on it for one night, you might get smoked. Whatever happens tonight, you walk out of the building, you're probably going to lose anyway, and it's over with.
Yeah.
Best package, take the player.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it is in most sports now. There's crazy the rivalries and the way teams trade with each other now, especially in hockey. Nobody cares. They're like, oh, long-time rival, you want this guy? Yeah, we'll take him.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's more ownership getting out of the way, and that's why this didn't happen because Jerry Jones is the owner.
Yeah.
Where a lot of it was owners didn't want to do that because they don't like the other guy or they don't want their fans, where management moves everywhere and works everywhere.
Do what's best for your team and your organization at that time. And you're right. There are rivalries where you're like, we probably shouldn't do this or whatever. The fans have a bitter hatred for each other. But ultimately, you're like, I'll take that player who's going to help my team. That's what you're trying to do.
Well, in Philly's an example. They were happy to do it because they were getting Parsons.
Yeah. Exactly.
They weren't thinking, well, we better not trade within our division. They're like, if you're going to give up that guy, we will take him.
Yeah.
Right? We just saw it with the Leafs, even though they never got an opportunity to do it. I think if Brad Marchand was available, they would have signed him.
Yes.
Leaf fans have hated him for 15 years.
But would die to have him.
Die to have him.
Yeah, of course you take him on your team.
Of course.
Makes you better.
Yeah.
Like.
Of course.
But I think maybe, are you saying more it's like modern sports where 20 years ago, that just was unheard of?
Yeah, it seemingly. I mean, there's an example with the Battle of Alberta. It just didn't happen. I don't remember growing up like a lot of Leafs-Habs deals. Like I know there were
Placanic.
some. Well, that was one that happened.
right?
That was modern, right? That was
Right.
like 8-9 years ago. They picked him
Which
up.
was still
That was the
weird.
one where they didn't want to go all in. They just wanted to say, we got to give you something. So
Yeah.
it was Placanic one year, and then it was Brian Boyle, and it was like, that's all you get.
Yep.
It's just like,
Same thing.
you look at that, and it was like, why?
It was a second rounder for a third or fourth line center.
Yeah.
That's what they did. They gave up a second, I think, for Boyle, a second for Placanic.
He never looked right in a Leafs uniform.
No. Well, he played over 1,000 games for the Habs.
He was a very good player.
Placanic was there for a long, long time.
But it didn't look, some guys, I've seen it recently over the summer on Instagram and Twitter where it's like you forget that players, like how it doesn't look right.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't look right for, a Ginla in an LA Kings uniform or whatever. However, Ray Bourque ended or however these other guys ended in Chris Osgood or Marty Brodeur in St. Louis.
Yeah, that was a really weird
Just
one.
looked weird, right? But like...
Placanic was weird. You know why? Because the turtleneck was the same colors.
Yes, it was always...
He didn't change the color of the turtleneck.
He stuck with it.
Yeah.
He
See,
was
look
the
at that.
turtleneck guy.
That was
turtleneck.
a weird one, man. That was a weird one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't...
He didn't bring much to the table either. He was done there.
That was the...
the Habs fleeced.
Oh, you know what that was? That was your Yannick Perreault. We brought in Yannick Perreault.
Yep.
That was JFJ standing there saying, announcing to the team, we brought in Yannick Perreault.
That's exactly what
I
it was.
can neither confirm or deny that.
Yeah. Well,
That's it. That's what
but
it
that's
was.
I don't remember much. Same thing. Like I played for the Islanders and Rangers. Like those. Now there's been lots of interactions with those teams over the years, but those are hated rivals.
Well, you know what usually happens in those scenarios is there's a team that's the little brother that's afraid of looking bad. And in that example, I would guess it's the Islanders.
Right.
Now, the Islanders had their own great run and dynasty, which changed a lot.
Right.
But they're in the bubble of the Rangers, and I'm sure they're cognizant of that. Like, we don't want to lose a deal to the Rangers.
Right.
Like, our fans would take that so personally.
Sure.
Where, that doesn't necessarily apply with the Cowboys and the Eagles. Dallas is Dallas. I mean, they're the biggest sports brand going or real close to it.